Hi, good evening. Thank you for joining us. I am Warren Gill, Director of Communication for AIDS United. And whether you're watching live or joining us later, I am so grateful that you're attending this National World AIDS Day Vigil. World AIDS Day has been held every year since 1988. It is an important day for us to reflect on those we've lost to the HIV epidemic, celebrate those of us living with HIV and thriving with HIV, and to recommit to the hard work of ending this epidemic. We know all of the medical interventions needed to end the HIV epidemic. It's as simple and as difficult as testing, prevention, and treatment. We know that testing is the gateway to both prevention and treatment. We know that PrEP is extremely effective at preventing new diagnoses. We know that with treatment, those of us living with HIV can live a long and healthy life. We also know that with treatment, those of us living with HIV can reach a point where the amount of the virus in our blood is so low, it's undetectable in lab tests. When this happens, we cannot pass the virus along to anyone. Undetectable equals untransmittable. Testing, prevention, treatment. These things work. And yet, the HIV epidemic rages on, especially in communities of color. We must ask, why is this? There are several things that are missing, but one of the key ingredients that we need and lack is health equity. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, health equity is achieved when every person has the opportunity to attain his or her full health potential, and no one is disadvantaged from achieving that potential because of social position or other socially determined circumstances. To put it in other words, the lack of equity is a direct result of the deadly mix of white supremacy, classism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, whorephobia, stigmas around sex and drug use and sex work, and more. These systems of oppression erect barriers to HIV testing, prevention, and treatment. If we are to have any hope whatsoever in ending the HIV epidemic, we must put significant effort into dismantling systems of oppression and building equity. And so tonight, please join me in remembering those precious beloveds that we have lost and recommitting to work for equity. Tonight we will hear from AIDS United's President and CEO, Jesse Mylan. Jesse reached an impressive milestone this year. As of 2022, he has now been living with HIV for 40 years. And in just a few moments, he will reflect on what he's learned over the years and what this anniversary means to him. Joining us to help lead tonight's vigil are the Reverend Erica Paulette, the Reverend Demi McCoy, and the Reverend Jim Matulski. Reverend Paulette serves as the Director of Faith in Harm Reduction for the National Harm Reduction Coalition and as the Minister of Harm Reduction and Overdose Prevention Ministries of the United Church of Christ denomination. She is a faith leader in long-term recovery who creates harm reduction-centered spiritual resources, ritual support, and spiritual care. Reverend McCoy is a faith leader and performance artist. She currently works with the Compass Initiative's Faith Coordinating Center at the School of Divinity at Wake Forest University. The Compass Initiative Faith Coordinating Center focuses on preparing ministry and nonprofit leaders to address the needs of vulnerable populations, such as rural communities in Appalachia, African Americans, and LGBTQ individuals. Reverend McCoy will be reading the poem Heartbeats by Dr. Melvin Dixon. Dr. Dixon was a gay Black poet who died from HIV-related complications in 1992. The poem was published after his death in 1995. And finally, the Reverend Mitulski is a pastor, activist, and theologian. He is currently serving as interim minister at Peace United Church of Christ in Duluth, Minnesota. He was pastor through the early days of the HIV epidemic at the Metropolitan Community Church of San Francisco and served as San Francisco's Ryan White coordinator. He has taught several seminary courses across the country on theology and HIV. He is also a long-term survivor of HIV. To each of them, I am so grateful that you were able to lend your voice to this vigil. And so now, let us begin. Let us turn now to Reverend Paulette.
As we gather together today virtually, I invite you to join me in whatever name or names for love and justice resonate with you. With a deep breath, we come to our center, the source of our love, the source of our passion, the source of our healing. With a deep breath, we welcome all who seek to be in community. We welcome the fullness and diversity of our sexual selves. We welcome the many ways we pursue pleasure and seek to manage pain. We welcome the many among us who have been stigmatized, oppressed for their very being. We breathe deeply into this community of ours. We welcome the wholeness of one another, the wholeness of self. This community of ours testifies to worth, dignity, and belovedness. The whole of you is welcome and wanted here. With a deep breath, we come to our center, the source of our love, the source of our passion, the source of our healing. With a deep breath, we remember our beloved no longer with us in this earthly realm. Their names are not forgotten. Their laughter is in our ears. Their fingerprints are on our hearts. Their memory, your memory, is our way forward. With a deep breath, we come to our center, the source of our love, the source of our passion, the source of our healing. With a deep breath, we commit to ending the HIV epidemic, to work to end systems of oppression, to address the intersectionalities of health disparities, to seek flourishing, justice, and human rights for all. With a deep breath, we come to our center, the source of our love, the source of our passion, the source of our healing. In all the holy names and in all of our holy names, we welcome you.
Heartbeats by Melvin Dixon. Work out 10 laps. Chin ups, look good. Steam room, dress warm. Call home, fresh air. Eat right, rest well, sweetheart, safe sex. Sore throat, long flu, hard nodes, beware. Test blood, count cells, reds thin, whites low. Dress warm, eat well, short breath, fatigue. Night sweats, dry cough, loose stools, weight loss. Get mad, fight back, call home, rest well. Don't cry, take charge, no sex, eat right. Call home, talk slow, chin up, no air. Arms wide, nose hard, cough dry, hold on. Mouth wide, drink this, breathe in, breathe out. No air. Breathe in, no air. Black out, white rooms, head hot, feet cold. no work, eat right, CAT scan, chin up. Breathe in, breathe out, no air, no air. Thin blood, sore lungs, mouth dry, mind gone. 6 months, 3 weeks, can't eat, no air. Today, tonight, it waits for me. Sweetheart, don't stop. Breathe in, breathe out.
We pause now to name and remember those who have left us, whose lives were taken too soon. I invite you, wherever you are, to speak aloud the names of the departed. May their names echo through the ages as our love for them echoes in our hearts.
Hello, I'm Jesse Mylan, President and CEO at AIDS United. On World AIDS Day each year, I'm usually asked to focus on all the people in the past who have suffered and died from AIDS, and all the people over the years who have been diagnosed with HIV, and also all the people over the years who have labored and fought for decades for the health and well-being of people living with and vulnerable to HIV. I tend to try to represent all of them, the gay men and the lesbians, the transgender and the cisgender, the Black and brown and white, the Native and Asian populations, the youth and all of us aging with HIV, the men, the women, the boys, and the girls. They're all my peeps, and I do my best to represent them. But this year on World AIDS Day, I've been asked to represent only me, because this year is my 40th year living with HIV. I probably won't be in this role as CEO at AIDS United when I reach my 50th year living with HIV, though aging with HIV is indeed my personal goal. But I've been urged to take this year to reflect on my 40 years as a person living with HIV, not from an organizational or even from a community perspective, but from my own life and experience. And from that perspective, I want to tell you that for me, HIV has been mostly about love. The love I shared with my late partner who died of AIDS 37 years ago, almost exactly to this day, especially the love he radiated to me while I took care of him until he died. It's about the love I have with my husband, with whom I've shared the last 34 years. We met doing HIV work together at the community level in Philadelphia. I love my husband, Bill. And the love I have had over the years from my own family, from my parents and my brother and my sisters, from my cousins and aunts and uncles who never shirked when they learned that I had HIV. And the love and experience I've had from my faith community, people who never shunned or rejected or even distanced themselves from me because of HIV. And even the love that I've had from my neighbors, including my Republican neighbors next door, because they learned that a person with HIV is only that, a person first. And of course, over these 40 years, There's been an outpouring of love to me from staff and professional colleagues, people I've worked with over these 40 years on boards and committees and in organizations and in meetings and conferences and events across these years that are too numerous for me to count and too many for me to remember. But today, I'm reminded of one of them. In a board meeting over 30 years ago, I came out as a person living with HIV. And when I said that, a dear friend and colleague who was on that board and who was sitting right across from me, he started weeping. And I'll never forget when he said, "Oh no, not Jesse too." How many times has someone thought that? Oh no, not him. Oh no, not her too. That's because it was once an inevitable outcome that we would die from AIDS. But the span of these years and the medical progress we've seen over these years has taken that inevitability of dying from AIDS away, provided we have access to treatment and care, provided we have insurance, be it public or private, provided we have a healthcare provider who we can turn to, who will work with us and care for us enough to help us reach and maintain an undetectable viral load so that we never develop or die from AIDS, and that we never pass the HIV virus on to someone else. U equal U is a truly miracle. It's a wonderful thing that I hoped for but never thought I would ever live to see. But it is a wonderful thing for all of us living today. But today, we can still hear and feel the sound of, oh no, not him. Oh no, not her too. Today, it is often based not so much about the fear of us dying of AIDS, but about the stigma that persists about HIV. And that stigma is what prevents too many of us from knowing our status. And it is compounded by racism, by sexism, by homophobia and misogyny, all of which combined together prevent too many of us from seeking and receiving the love that we most need to help us survive. That friend of mine, that dear colleague of mine, whose name was Henry, when he said those words, "Oh no, not Jesse too," I didn't know what to expect. But what I learned is that his love for me never wavered. But he demonstrated what I hope on this World AIDS Day that I can share with the world, and that is this. It's not only the bravery of people living with HIV that we need to end this epidemic and to end the stigma and the inequities that continue for HIV. It is the courage of people who do not have HIV that we need. And it is their courage to demonstrate publicly and forcefully the love and support that they have for us. That open support of not being afraid to say HIV, of not being afraid to say that you know and care about someone with HIV. That open and fearless support after 40 years of this epidemic is what we need from you in the voting booth, as well as in Congress. We need it as much in the State House and in the White House as we do in your own house, because it is in our living rooms and dining rooms, in our conference room and boardrooms, in break rooms and work rooms, as well as in sanctuaries and mosques and synagogues. In all those rooms, it is where a person living with HIV most wants to share their status, and it's where we need you to share your love and support for us. My heart stopped when Henry said, "Oh no, not Jesse too." And I know that his heart stopped when he heard me disclose that I had HIV. But his heart and mine have remained connected across all these many years. So my story across these 40 years of my journey as a person living with HIV is first and foremost about the connections of the heart, the connections that I've been lucky to know. And my hope is that all of us living with HIV will be so lucky and blessed to know and find that love. And that love might just start on this World AIDS Day with you.
My name is Jim Matulski, and I am proud to be a minister in the Metropolitan Community Churches, the historically LGBTQ churches, and also in the United Church of Christ, a justice denomination that welcomes all people. I'm also a gay man, and I am living with HIV now for over 30 years. And it's an honor to be here to offer a benediction or a blessing for this AIDS United Vigil on World AIDS Day. So I offer this benediction, this blessing, especially for my fellow people who have and who are living with HIV/AIDS, and in honor of those who have gone before us, who have died of HIV/AIDS, but who live forever in our hearts and in our memories as they live in God's heart, in God's memory. And so I offer this benediction, this blessing. On World AIDS Day, I bless you. I bless you from the heart of the eternal. I bless you with angels and archangels and with the spirits of all of our loved ones who swirl around us, holding us constantly. Those who live, who have loved, our lovers, our friends. I bless you with the healing heart of the universe, who hopes and helps for the best for all of us, and who longs for justice and equal access to medical care for everyone, and who is restless until everyone has equal access to life and health. I bless you. I bless our sacred bodies, every cell in our bodies. I bless all the medications we take and all the healing arts that we access, those that are approved and those that aren't approved, everything that gives us life and love and energy. I bless our touching, our feeling, our living, our loving, our politics, our erotic lives, everything that pulses around us that says life, 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 equally for everyone, for all. We are blessed, we are loved, we are worthy, we are beautiful, we are whole. Every moment, past, present, and future is blessed. Every act of love, energy, sexuality, eroticism, connection is blessed. Everything powerful that suppresses infection, racism, homophobia, transphobia, self-hatred, I declare to be less powerful than our love for each other. Be blessed, be creative, live every moment powerfully and with expectation and in hope. We are blessed. Go in peace.
This concludes the service. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.